very annoyed about that. Most of all, our favourite disruptive Adrian Polka, who is disrupting the whole thing by refusing to do anything.
I did not refuse.
No,
I'm very compliant, Helen.
He's got his own Pico projector, which is a key part of your project.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
It's an amazing project, and we have lots of fun talking about what we do now, but more importantly, what we want to do next.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'll pass you on to Adrian Polka.
Hi, everybody. I'm Adrian Polka from Performing Arts, and I've come together with the team in. Is my time up yet? No, I've come together with the team in DMLL to work on a project, a teaching and learning project that came my way by chance, really, or spontaneously, with my friend here, the Pico projector. Now, we can't turn the sun off, and we can't turn off the institutional lighting. So the good news is we're in Berlin, and it's nighttime. And we're on Berlin time, which means Helen's given me an hour and 5 minutes because they're an hour behind for this talk. This project is simply based around using the portability of this technology and other technologies to animate certain learning situations. Let me explain the background to that and some of the uses. We've got a project going ahead now, and we're just bringing in more sophisticated equipment where there'll be more lumens on there will be more lumens on the projector, and also it'll be Bluetooth. So I'm slightly constrained by this cable, and my partner, who would otherwise be holding the cable, has got other responsibilities today.
Can any of us assist?
You will eventually in our participation part.
Oh.
Okay, so this project I've given the name, because of its origins in Germany, it's the Project, okay, and it was based on the following process. So in my creative work, I've been using these portable technologies and this portable projector to investigate memory in particular. And this image, which you can't properly see, is of me in the depths of Siberia in Russia, projecting an image of my father, who was in the Gulag. He was Polish. He was in the Gulag, and I wanted to return his memory and put 2 fingers up to Stalin, basically, because they tried to fucking kill him, they killed my grandfather, but they didn't kill him. So I took him back. Okay, 8 years after his death, I took him back to Siberia. I projected his image onto a tree. He'd had to eat the bark of those trees to survive as a young man, and I played a poem that he'd written about his loss, but about his love for the Russian countryside, for the taiga. So I traveled 5,000 miles away with the Pico projector and lots of other bits of digital. It's not actually post-digital. This is some fairly basic digital technologies. But I was totally emancipated, to use your word, or you're not the only one who uses it. But I was totally liberated by the portable nature of the technologies to be able to fulfill this ancestral mission of, in a way, returning my father's voice from beyond the grave. And Helen and I've got a plan to leave it there permanently in virtual reality, so Putin can fuck it as well. They won't get the polkas. Okay, so that's the origin of my creative practice with these projects. This was then converted into an installation, which some of you might have seen, which is at the Coventry Peace Festival. This is in the Polish Army Museum in Warsaw. And we built a hut and then installed in a suitcase some of the images that we'd collected while in Siberia, and played my father's poem out of the suitcase, obviously a symbol of the refugee. And there it is, the Pico projector, doing that job. So I happened to have this kit in my bag, okay, because I'd been working on this project. We showed it in Berlin, we showed it in Kassel, we've shown it in Warsaw, we've shown it in Coventry. I happened to have this kit in my bag in Berlin when we were there with a performing arts. And we are non-logo-centric students. I try to get them to read, and they don't read very much. And we took them on an orientation walk from Alexanderplatz to the Brandenburger Gate. It was nighttime, and it was Berlin. So their minds really weren't on anything I was saying. We gathered them together in Alexanderplatz, and obviously there's the temptations of Berlin all around you, the ambience of the city, which they wanted to quite legitimately sort of drink in. But I was determined that they should get greater contextual knowledge. And I did a quiz beforehand, and the contextual knowledge, well, we should be shot as teachers, given the level of ignorance, I have to say. They don't really know where it is. So I was standing there with this group of students, smaller group than you, nighttime Berlin, so image more vivid. And I thought, bugger it, they're not listening. And I could hear this sort of deadly, almost tourist guide drone and then sort of glazing over. And I thought, no, this isn't fair. And so I kind of let back into my natural mode, which is I'm a lecturer and I work in these sort of creative performance and kind of media situations. I thought, sod it, let's give it a try. So I got this kit out of my bag, and it's still a bit Heath Robinson because it's without Bluetooth. And I gave them on the floor, and this is a real shame that because of the light, I projected on the pavement in Alexanderplatz some lecture materials that I had in the university. I think my 5 minutes up. But so this is a map. I try to explain that the historical and geographical context, and then go into the cultural and political context of where we are. And so improvisationally, I showed them this map of Weimar Germany with its borders reaching into what's now Poland and reaching into the Baltic, into the Baltics. And I said, you know, the twins here, and this is how it was. That is the Berlin of the Cold War, which we all knew and loved. And this is the map from 1946. You can see the borders have moved eastwards, but the Germans are still referring to the Polish bits as occupied. This is the Soviet zone. And this is the post-unification Germany. So getting into their heads, given the level of quiz questions that they didn't know any of this stuff. Telling them what an immense chain, simple political chain. They also pointed out that if you fall off the end of the map here, it's not far from Moscow, and there's no hills in sight, so the tanks can roll. And so, you know, it's not quite the same. Well, Coventry has a bomb. So on the floor, okay, on the floor, and they just simply gathered round. They just simply gathered round. They saw the fun in it, but they engaged. And so from the rather deadly tourist guide drone of my voice, this method engaged their attention, animated this material, this historical material. Well, my colleague Glenn had a pale jacket on. Would somebody like to stick this on? Give it a try. Oh, okay. Just a random person from the audience. Okay. So my colleague Glenn had a white jacket on, and we thought, oh well, you know, we'll take the geographical and then take the from the ground, and we'll do the social on somebody's back. And of course the students reacted extremely well. So I took them through a brief, very brief, explanation of the social, political, historical, cultural context of what makes Berlin special. I must add, we were there for the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. So I was explaining why the hell we were there, other than the fact that Berlin's a bit cool. So I explained the extraordinary.
Can I sit down?
No, no. There's only 3 slides. There's only 3 slides. I explained on Glenn's back I'm not far off it. The extraordinary rapid industrialization of Berlin, development of the bourgeois classes that existed. So that's Potsdamer Platz in kind of Edwardian or Wilhelmine Berlin. Revolutionary tensions in that class conflict produced the revolution of 1919. I explained the license and liberalism of Weimar Republic through this reference to Dix and the way the Nazis sorted out, which this is image of the burning of the books. And the inevitable complete destruction of Berlin and the building of the Berlin Wall in the post-war settlement, which I illustrated with that image. So moving away from anybody's back, we could thank you very much for your back. We thought that we would like to build on this project. And we thought that the principle of animation in the sense, or not animation in the cartoon sense, the sense of animating the interest in the students, animating our performance as lecturers, and actually animating in an animistic way, i.e. giving soul to inanimate object, buildings, buses, cars, is the principle that the project is about to go into sort of prototype mode. But just as an example of what we do in Berlin, and I'm winding this up now, is there are incredible capacities for flexibility, particularly with Bluetooth. So you could be thinking, which is what the students and I would like to be doing, you know, I could project it onto my coffee mug. I can project it onto the plate. I can project it onto the ceiling if it's dark and in Berlin. So we thought as a, just as an example to show you, we could, and this is at the cruise level without moving it, we would go to, say, the Brandenburger Gate, and we could show the historical background of and the usages of the Brandenburg Gate. So that's Napoleon arriving in 1806. That's Kaiser Wilhelm in 1918. That's our old friends. We don't need to know to mention who they are. That is immediate post-war aftermath of Berlin, the Brandenburg Gate. That is the Cold War in the American sector. That's the Cold War in the Russian sector. This is November the 9th. We were there to commemorate. And that is the Brandenburg Gate today, which is both a civic and corporate phenomenon. And nowadays, the marathon goes through there, the Love Parade goes through, and it has this sort of civic rather than military identity. But that would be one of the case studies. The potential for this is developing here in terms of a teaching method, but we're going to use it as an assessment method as well. We're going to get students to use these technologies. That was 4.5 minutes. Thanks very much. Okay.
Right, we'll just might take a minute to move over. But I did just want to sort of explain a bit about the way that we work with Adrian, because it's a really interesting process in the lab, and the way that you know, we can work through ideas together. And it was really nice for us when Adrian came in with, you know, with this idea in this work. We're already excited to think, where can this idea go in year 2, in year 3? That's what we've done with, that's what we've done, haven't we? And so we're looking at the next stage of this, kind of integrating in terms of pedagogy. We're looking at kind of almost performed assessment. So getting students to perform around their projections in these live spaces. And then the next level to that would be using beacon sensors in the environment. So the students don't know when they'll be called up to perform. So they'll just be a kind of sat around the Brandenburg Gate, and some trigger will go off and they have to get up out the history. So this is kind of the next level thing, isn't it? And so it really hits on, you know, areas of interest like Catherine with your creative arts pedagogy, and Sylvester, you were the one that really brought the sort of beacon idea into the lab first of all. So potentially it's the kind of project that really does cross over into lots of different areas of interest. So yes, and as you can imagine, Adrian's loads of fun to work with. So thank you,
Adrian. Thank you very much.
Right. Right, it's Billy and Tiziana next. Do you want to go after this, just in case? Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Tiziana Cervi, and I'm a lecturer in the DEL department, English and Languages.
I'm Billy Brick, also from the Department of English and Languages.
Okay, so we're here to present you our project today, which we give it the name of Byrant. Obviously, I'm Italian, and we are our project develop better literacy, digital literacy, but also combined with the languages for students taking up +1 in Italian. And so the name of the project is this, and it's a pervasive learning. Okay, so pass it on to Billy for a second.
Thank you.
I hope to see in time.
Yeah, we're going to be trying disciplined 5 minutes, or even 3.5.
Yeah, that's very hard.
At the 5-year plan in 3.5 years. Okay, yes, so we had several attempts at before the DML was set up. Just use their mobile phones for language learning. We surveyed them. In fact, we've used Italian classes. They were often under the deck. We thought they were texting, but they weren't. They were using their dictionaries. So on the back of that, we thought we'd develop some materials for them to use. So yeah, we've played around with, well, we started off trying to use augmented reality before it become quite mature, and that didn't work. Then we did WhatsApp, which did to some extent, but it was a bit limited in what we could do with that. Yeah, Tiziana?
Yes, so basically just one little thing about this, and to represent with all our pictures today, it's everything that is our concept. So breaking down the walls is just thinking about outside the classroom and just do something different for the students, okay?
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that became clear to us as well was mobile phones uniquely you can easily practice the 4 skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And it's already got its own academic discipline, which I think is quite unusual. Mobile assisted language learning, which is a kind of subdiscipline of computer assisted language learning. So we wanted to also then harness some of the functions mobile phones have, such as geotagging, QR codes, and the like, and augmented reality.
Okay. So we took this advantage and again try to put into the images what we thought. So you can see in the pictures, I think it's for itself. You can see students just with books, which is not, we're not denying that the traditional ways is not the way, but it's also somebody a bit happier with the smiley faces. And we proved this with our research previously, as we said, all the pilot project that we had before, they all worked well, and the response from our students was fantastic. So we decided that was the way to do, and it is a way of motivating students, trying to make them more engaged in the language learning rather than just using the passive way of the book or just face-to-face.
Yeah.
So we
Because it So let's say thank you to Sarah. Started at the end, and the next one is a little video.
Now, I think you can guess what it is, hopefully. I'll show you with map. So it is, as you can see, represent our teaching and learning and the process of changing. So from the something, and then as you can see, blossoming fantastic butterfly. So that's the idea of how our ideas of changing slightly very much with the teaching from the students, our language learning methods.
We started off with the idea about having an app to actually replace what students do in the classroom, but because of the human nature, what you were saying earlier on, of language learning, I think there has to be some face-to-face contact. Leaving them to get on with it with the app with no teacher contact, we decided, well, certainly the first instance wasn't the way it was. Yeah, I will.
And now, why? Now you can see here, either Michelangelo meets E.T. or in a more serious way, is we're trying, as Lily just mentioned, to put together technology and the physical. So from Italian words, this is obviously you can all read and understand, but in case you wouldn't, is it just the fusion of apprendimento, which is learning, and tecnologia, you can work it out for yourself, technology, divertimento, which is fun and enjoyment, and at the same time innovation. So is, and this is what he was saying as well, putting face-to-face examples for us for me to meet the students, and at the same time we have a group of students what they do by themselves. Okay.
Okay, the next slide kind of speaks for itself, which is I lifted from JISC, which looks at the various elements of digital literacies, and our project actually ticks the boxes on all of these. So the idea about upskilling students and improving their digital literacies.
Okay, now this is a word cloud using all the words. This is what we're thinking about. One of the first students that will be working on this. Mostly is having a lot of Italian words that a lot of you will recognize because they're very similar. And it's something to look at the first time to recognize and find similarities and similarities with the Italian language and the English, and see if they recognize any of the words. So it will be a sort of game for them to break out the ice and get into the game of the
content. Yeah, one of the issues as well we wanted was to make it scalable. All the things we'd done before in Coventry, location specific, and weren't translatable. Even to go to a conference and show it, we couldn't because it depended on the location. So the idea was to design something which is scalable and can be used all over the world, colleges, schools, universities.
At the same time, the name of the app will be as well something that they can change into a foreign language, for French, and it won't change that much as well.
Yeah. Okay. For me. Okay, yeah, this is how we're going about design. Thanks. So the learning objectives at the bottom, the dynamics, gamable design, and technology. Say too much about that. We're over time already.
Okay. Now this is an example again to bring together and the most engaging activities that we used in the past already, and a new opportunity for us to use all the 4 skills which are very important in language learning, like listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and at the same time combining with the geotagging. So again, breaking down the walls, making students move around, go around Coventry, and learn the language in a different way. And also the soft skills of like grammar and vocabulary. Okay, and this is what works well. Now you can see we are all together. This is the team. One of the things is working well, and us enjoying Italian treats at the same time while we're brainstorming, and also with the students. So it's not just fun, but it's good teamwork and very productive, and it's very important as well because students are really engaging with us and working. They're very motivated language students, and they give us ideas and they help us on the project as well. So it's also increasing, like we were talking before, employability of our students.
Okay, we'll skip through that next one. Okay, so we've got this maze to illustrate some of the hurdles.
Okay, yeah, so basically that maze that was us representing our journey at the beginning, very confused, very dark, and very difficult with lots of hurdles that you see. And as you can see, there will be some hurdles all the way through, but at the end of the light, you can see at the end of the tunnel the light of the help and the support of DMLL. So this is our journey throughout so far, and one of the first obstacles will be where we encountered this expertise. Obviously, found the people that could provide us and help us with to hone our ideas and put them into practice with the expertise that we don't have on this. We are the language experts, but not so good with all the rest. So we need that. Okay. And we go, okay, the second, you can go through that if you like.
Thanks.
So about the integration.
Okay, yeah, so we kind of, have we got integration yet? So yeah, we were going to integrate it. So the difficult we have some institutional issues around our institution-wide languages program. So we're going to run it alongside the level 1, which isn't scrutinized by the external examiner. It gives a bit of freedom. So the idea was to run the same content, only one classroom based and one half classroom, half app based.
Okay.
Yep, go on, yeah. Management.
And again, the last hurdles and also what we find is management is just integration, but also time management. Find the time and find the students, especially to work and collaborate us. Yes.
Yeah.
So
There's also,
very quickly because we haven't got a lot of
okay.
time. Over the 5 minutes.
And the idea was to find suitable students and the balance between what we want, what we can afford, and what's possible.
And then just with this picture will speak for themselves as we can see growing the development. So you can see from the picture from nothing into growing to something flourishing. And again, expertise and working with a scientific approach and technology and the language.
And that's almost exactly 10 minutes. Yeah.
Right now, slight change, just because we're really running quite late, you need to shoot off. We have in Trevor now? Okay, so we'll have Trevor, followed by Kate and Marie.
I wasn't shouting, was I? Oh, mine.
Share this, guys. Yes. Right. I'm now going to ask you some questions. What is the name of the small and dedicated team that provide maths and stats support in the university? Hands up if you know this. Good. Second question is, who do you think made that little slideshow in a very short time? Sort
Sort
of.
Sigma, in its munificence, offers 2 internships to Coventry students in the summer months after their exams, when they work on all sorts of interesting projects, which we don't have time for. And they started yesterday, and their first little project was to prepare these silent slides, say how our 24/7 online mathematics help service works. So I think they deserve a round of applause for that. The second question is, what are our challenges? What is difficult to us as mathematicians about what we're trying to do there?
what are the hurdles either we or the students will meet?
Simplifying it?
Sorry?
Simplifying it?
Yes, they were trying to put their mathematics and type it into a screen on a very small phone. And I don't know if you've ever tried to type mathematics into even a laptop or a fully desktop computer, but rendering maths on the screen is a real challenge. And that's one of the things that mathematics online has had to face over a long period of time. There are various solutions, none of them perfect. The one we favor here is uploading. So what you should have seen in the second picture of the How Cloud opening page, the home page, was in the top right-hand corner. In the first one was the student's name. In the second one was Mark's name, because he was being alerted to the fact that a query had arrived, and he had to get out his tablet and run the program, which would video him with his voiceover, writing out the answer. And then that is uploaded to the How Cloud server, and then the student can look at the answer on the iPhone and change the scale on the screen and read. But you, as you noticed, you don't always need the voiceover. We tried to get a piano today, like the old silent movies, but they didn't provide it. Okay, Mark, take it from there.
Yeah, so really sort of the biggest challenges we found sort of downstairs this year is that a lot of students, sort of, as you saw at the start, don't have enough time to sort of come and see us. We want to offer the best support we can to students, and we found that this project that we've taken over sort of helps us do that. So How Cloud is 24/7 service. It's been a pilot project for this sort of term. Take-up wasn't massive, but it's starting to increase, and we think that sort of September time, so when students are more aware of it and it's sort of more ingrained in that they can do this, we think that they'll take it up more. But we think it's a really positive way, because, like I say, you know, students sort of they can't always come and see a tutor. And obviously, you know, we can then build up a bank of questions between us as well, to make sure that, you know, students have got the best service from Coventry as possible, no matter what sort of course they're in. Because obviously another sort of stigma that they have when they come to the centre is they think, oh, it's just for mathematicians. And it's not, it's for everyone, because everyone needs mathematics and everyone's got different mathematics questions. And this sort of helps to take away some of that stigma, perhaps, that they can, you know, they post online and sort of not feel a bit sort of pressured in sort of coming to the centre. But obviously we also see that students still want to come and use the centre as well. So it's sort of a combination. It works two ways. We help the students help us as well. And as you've seen, I'll help produce that as well. So it's a two-way street, and it's worked really well so far. And hopefully it will sort of continue to grow over the next few months. So.
Thank you, Mark. The key thing is that as it develops, we build answers to a number of student questions. And over the summer, the person called Joe Ross, who's the brainfather behind How Cloud, he's going to set up a good search method and a tagging system, which will allow our students to quickly find answers to their questions if they've already been answered. And as we develop over time, we'll have a bigger and bigger supply of beautiful answers. And Mark's also using it in a second mode, namely he's anticipating certain groups in the university, like the nurses with their numeracy problems, are facing, and he's putting up videos which give them the answers even before they've asked them. So it's a repository of resources, and it's an interactive mode of reaching the students when we can't see them face to face. Any questions?
Right, so now Marie and Kate will talk to us about.
We used no colour. We didn't put this together in the assessment board yesterday afternoon.
Right.
Okay, so neither of us are particularly good at keeping things short and sweet, so I'm sure this is going to go really well. We're going to give you a really brief introduction to our project SOAPI, which is Students Online Project and Industry. The idea is to bring students and industry together and start to engage them in different discussions and ways of actually facilitating that discussion. Our students are very much used to very traditional lectures and seminars, and they don't particularly get to see anything different or kind of industry experience. So we wanted to give them access to industry managers and give them real problems that were happening in those industries on those particular days and see what they'd suggest. It allowed students, or is allowing students, to have one-to-one discussions with industry experts and managers that they may be working for in the future, but it also gives them the opportunity to speak to managers and ask them questions about actually what is it like to work in those particular. For the pilot study, we got two industry managers involved from large UK companies. One was an operator. Issues. The beauty of this project was that it actually allowed the managers to engage flexibly. They could drop in and out as and when they wanted to. And one of the big things that the employers kept saying to us is that actually they wanted soft skill developments. They wanted our students to come out not necessarily knowing how to be brilliant project managers or supply chain managers, but how to actually get it onto the ground and just run with it. So to do all of this, we used Twitter. We'd seen some evidence of certain universities using Twitter to engage in communication with their students, but we'd not seen it used or any evidence in the literature to engage our students speaking with industry themselves. It was very much a tool that was used between students or between academics and students. So it was really something to try and get us to discover if this was actually feasible. The hashtag that you can see on the screen, you can search for that and have a look at some of the conversations that students were having with these industry managers. And the way that we set this pilot up to work was that in the first week, the students would actually have issues and problems that were posed by industry managers. And the second week, it was a Q&A session. The students really liked the fact that they could have that one-on-one discussion with the industry experts and industry managers. The managers were particularly interested in the benefits in terms of seeing actually what could they get, what could they start to think about differently. It had been a few years since they'd graduated from university. It got them to start thinking about how they could start to look in a different and more innovative way at the problems that they were facing, in the same way the students were coming at it, in some ways quite naively, but it got everybody to start sort of thinking a little bit more creatively as such.
Microphone change. Yep.
Okay, what didn't they like? This was a pilot project, and it was said earlier that we need to have room to fail, so some things didn't go very well. The main one, obviously, is the character restriction. Students wanted to say more. Having said that, the managers didn't have the time to respond to very large discussion posts. Another challenge from the manager perspective was about how to keep some of the issues they were posting authentic without generating risk to their organisation. So any kind of commercially sensitive issues that they needed to discuss, we wanted to keep as authentic as possible. So that was one of the problems. Some students forgot how to use the hashtag. You can see here's an example of a posting that was put up by one of the managers, and they used the kind of 1, 2, 3. This gives you an idea of the type of issues that were posted, and we generally had one issue posted per day that students could respond to. This is an example of a student response, and what we really wanted to do was to show students that there was more than one way to solve a problem, because our students tend to think in a very linear fashion. This is how you go about solving a problem, and we wanted them to think more laterally, creatively, and students were coming up with different ideas about how to do that. In the second week, this is an example of a question that was posed by one of our students to a project manager that said, you know, what tool do you use on a daily basis? And thank God it was something that we taught in the module. So it enabled students to realise that, you know, there was some credibility, but equally so, there may be things that we haven't taught that come up, and that should be seen as a positive thing. So what are we doing in the future? This involved about 15 students. We're now scaling this up to about 180 students. However, not using Twitter for some of the reasons that we've already discussed. We're going to integrate some of these discussions into the classroom. So we're going to break students up into teams. We're going to have social media champions that will engage with those industry professionals from semester 1 going onwards. The social media tool, this is where we were completely lost. So the DMLL have kindly given us some advice, and we've come up with the idea of using Google Plus as the social media tool going forward. This will meet the expectations of both the students and the managers. We're yet to kind of play with this technology in depth ourselves. So this is kind of going into the next phase of the project now. But essentially, we need to sort out the logistics of how this will work. But the value that students saw from the project was really good. Thinking about scaling this up in the future, we want to get rid of the module descriptors that we're working with, which is a big challenge for us, but essentially we want the employers to drive what it is that we teach. And that, and it changes in industry, especially with project management, which is my background. It changes all of the time. And we want them to be able to drive this for us and essentially get rid of the module descriptors and be able to change them on a frequent basis, which is one of the barriers that I'm sure we all face. Okay, I think that's it. Are we to time? Yeah.
Yeah, we really, I mean, that's kind of a really example of disruptive pedagogy, whereas, because I'm guessing you didn't go there setting out to destroy the language.
We haven't told our languages yet, so we're doing it and see what happens.
Which leads us on really nicely to 3 City Link. With Laura and Rob.
Yeah, so for 2 weeks in November last year, this was a translocal creative collaborative project between 3 cities here, Regina in Canada and Gyumri in Armenia, involving students mainly in fine art courses, but also in Canada it was like film and sound art and stuff like that, wasn't it? To kind of discuss and share their kind of local practices and kind of the culture of the area. Yeah, so then the dialogue happened through social media, mainly Facebook and Twitter, and that's where the name 3 City Link came from, hashtag 3 City Link, because people use that hashtag to communicate with each other and find each other. It was quite loose in format with how the students engaged with each other and finding each other. But each city had a gallery space that they could go to, use as a hub, bring work there. Each area had a resource area and library kind of space that they kind of could collect kind of texts and whatever else. This is the commentary space in the Lanchester Gallery. We kind of sang, kind of harmonized some kind of weird version of the Doctor Who theme tune as a kind of, sharing. Yeah, because what's her name? Delia Derbyshire is from Coventry originally, kind of thing. Yeah, this is Rob trying to communicate through whiteboard on Skype. Every day we had a 2-hour Skype session across all 3 cities where we would talk about what we'd done in the day or what we were going to do, depending on the time difference, and asking questions of each other face to face. So if we wanted certain photos, videos, whatever else. Yeah, this is us watching a video that Gyumri sent us to watch. Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, so I kind of guess for me as a mature student, it was quite interesting because I've worked on quite a few projects which I would say have been disruptive and before this, but probably in very different ways. I guess what was interesting about this was it had two elements to it, really. There was a known element and an unknown element. So we knew how many people were going to be involved with it. We knew the duration of it. We knew that we were going to use social media, what platforms we were going to use. But that was it. And what was very different to me was the fact that the tutors knew pretty much exactly the same as the students did. So everybody was trying to help each other through the project, really, which gave it a really quite exciting element. Everybody found their own way, their own strengths, their own weaknesses. Some people are morning people, some people are afternoon people, and people use very different ways in terms of dialogue in conversing with the other two cities. So it was a very, very interesting, very thought-provoking project. Any question? No questions?
Right, okay. Shall I go now? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, we just need the mics. Okay, so I've got Sarah and Catherine and Alison. Yay! Brilliant.
We have to use the mics, which we hadn't thought about. I told him. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there should be another one. Oh, is it? Right, okay.
That isn't ours. No.
It's all right. VLC should open it, shouldn't it? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Huh? No, but it doesn't seem to want to open. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we've done quite well to get this far without technical. Cool.
Anyone else got any suggestions?
Do you know which one is yours? The slides, which ones are yours?
I've got it here, I'll see if it's working. No, it's saying that the file might be damaged on here.
It's quite tall.
Well, shall I try?
Yeah, do you want to try it on yours?
Yeah, that's not real.
Maybe another presentation should go if there's another 5 minutes.
I've got like 3 minutes or something. I don't know. I need many slides. Shall I just do the quick game changer? Right.
Okay. Yeah, I totally stole that from Sky. This is the most illegal presentation of the day. I should get a prize for that. It's good though, isn't it? Their logo. Right, so I'm going to talk to you about an idea that we've kind of had brewing, and it's called Game Changers. And all I'm going to do really is tell you a little bit about it because we haven't actually started doing it yet. It's something that we're going to start doing next year. And so I'm kind of pitching to you essentially because we want to get as many people across the university involved as we can. So basically what we found was in the DMLL, we do have, quite a few people coming to us with ideas for games for the classroom. And that's no surprise, really, if you think about kind of Coventry's reputation and history with the Serious Games Institute and everything. There's some really amazing work come out of Coventry when it comes to games in education. But one of the things that we're kind of conscious of is that, with this kind of approach, it's very much about, us or the university as the providers of these games, okay? And we really want to get away from that and more into this sort of spirit of co-creation and co-production and think, well, how about getting the students to design the games? Because actually you learn a hell of a lot through building a game yourself. So that's the sort of the rationale behind what we want to do, really. So essentially the thinking is, and this is supported by, lots of research, that through designing their own games, students have to learn sort of concepts at a very deep level in order to explain them to other people, in order to sort of gamify them. So it's we're trying to sort of rethink our role rather than the providers of games that a group of students might use for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and yet take months to produce, sort of flipping it around a bit, gamifying it. I'm deliberately throwing in those keywords that we're probably all sick of hearing, but essentially getting the students, to create their own games. Now, we're thinking of this as a real kind of meta project because it would be across faculty, it would be across the university. So if anyone has a game that they would like to have in their module, instead of thinking, right, I must make this game for my students, we want to really turn that thinking around and go, no, if you want that game, get the students to create it. Okay, so it ticks kind of lots of the themes that we have here in terms of gamifying, flipping the classroom approach, very much co-created. I'll talk to you about the viral bit in a moment, and the open content, because this is the other strand that we're finding that we're really excited about. What we are going to do is set up kind of boot camps and get game designers in to work with students. We'll have 10-day boot camps. Groups of students from different disciplines, different faculties have to kind of pitch their ideas and apply to come on these boot camps. It will be a competitive process because we want it to be taken very seriously. Work with a leading game designer, and at the end of 10 days, come up with this game for the module. And there will be an annual award for the best education game design in the university. So really embedding it as part of the culture of the institution, getting students to create this stuff for themselves. The other strand that I'm really excited about, because I probably don't have to be on it as much, but basically we're really thinking about, the fact that lots of lecturers might feel pressurized by this, and they might, well, how the hell am I going to work with my learners to help them design a game? I don't know how to make games. We don't want people to have to do that. What we want to do is kind of set up a whole open resource, which can be used to support the students. So we're essentially going to have a web TV channel, which is going to be a set of lots of short little mobisodes about all these aspects of game design. Lots of them will be headed up by our very own Dr. Game, who is Sylvester Arnab. So I can't wait to do that. So yeah, we're going to have our Game Changers television. And then as students get involved, we'll ask them to make sort of short 3 to 5 minute videos as well, and just gradually populate it over time into a big open resource for others way beyond the institution to use. And the other side in terms of, that was the slide where I was going to announce you. Sylvester Arnab, Dr. Game. But yeah, the idea being as well that, through producing these games, we just end up with this growing database of OERs that can be used within the institution, outside the institution, and it really becomes part of the kind of identity of co-creation and gamification at the University of Coventry. So we'll be pushing this forwards after the summer break, and we'd love it if you would get involved. So there you go. That was the pitch. Thank
you. Right, take 2 for us. Thank you. Okay, I'm Sarah Goy. I'm an occupational therapist and an academic, and this is Alison Falvey, and she's an occupational therapy student, and this is Catherine Wimperney.
She's an occupational therapist and a researcher here at DMLL. So we're going to tell you a little bit about our oil project. The oil project is entitled Preparation for Occupational Therapy Practice in an Uncertain World. And it's been part funded by the World Federation of Occupational Therapists. They gave us a small research grant to fund it. And it's involved designing, delivering and evaluating a final year flipped oil module amongst 3 occupational therapy undergraduate programs in Coventry, Cape Town and Belgium. The project was designed to build on findings from a cross-contextual pilot study in Coventry and Cape Town, and the project had looked at recent occupational therapy graduates' perspectives about the way that their training was equipping them to work in enterprising ways across diverse communities and contexts in mental health. The pilot results revealed that occupational therapy students need more opportunities in the curriculum to embrace uncertainty and to consider risk and deal with challenges in multicultural practice settings.
Yes. So, sorry, swapping over. That was gracefully done, wasn't it? So what did we do? We tried to think about a new approach to delivery of a module, and we wanted to target students, and we wanted to think about how we could promote them in thinking of practice and dealing with not knowing. So there were 200 students that were involved across 3 project countries, and we got these students involved in discussion forums, which we called action learning sets. So there were 10 to 12 students from across the 3 countries in these sets. This was a really entirely new approach for learning for Cape Town and Belgium, whilst not necessarily brand new for Coventry. But what we did, which was really exciting, was we got graduates in their first post to give us complex scenarios from their practice. And it was a podcast. And then those same graduates help facilitate the action learning sets across the 3 countries and help students think about and present and problem solve different ways they might tackle some of the culturally sensitive issues that the graduates were experiencing in their first post. So we set up sort of weekly prompts. We've evaluated this whole project. We thought about how we could get these learning sets housed across the different curriculums. So in Coventry, it was embedded within an employability and entrepreneurship module. In Belgium, it was in an enabling environments, and in Cape Town, a research and practice management module. And we felt that we were trying to flip the classroom here, because these vodcasts that the graduates donated were used in these forums, but students prepared their ideas about what they could think about and discuss with the graduates in these discussion forums, facilitated also with some academic staff. And then the learning from those fed into wider seminar and workshop discussions. And we used storyboards to get the students to think creatively about their learning from the sets. In Coventry, this helped the students develop digital stories about the learning from these different scenarios. And students donated photographs and news reels from their own respective countries, and it was very engaging for all concerned. And importantly, it built some international relationships. It got our students having to think about different ways of professional discourse.
So what has gone well? There were some fantastic creative discussions with innovative ideas for solving complex practice issues, and as students reflected creatively on the discussions. Also, the flipped approach enabled us to further develop our learning by bringing our reflections back into the classroom environment. The students reported they loved the creative elements of the module, and graduates and students co-created the Moodle site with the teaching and learning technology teams. And the students also reported their learning experiences enabled them to reflect forward to their future professional roles and activities. The learning technologists reported that the technical side had been very successful. They'd incorporated time zone widgets, photo galleries, and country descriptions, and the research was also supported by the Disruptive Media Learning Lab. And the Open Moodle platform was really effective. There were some challenges, however, that were faced. The discussion wasn't compulsory for Limburg University and the University of Cape Town, and so many students didn't engage at all. It was also quite time-consuming and complex to set up across the 3 countries, and some students appeared online but didn't actually engage in the discussion. Some postings also turned into long academic essays, and some students felt overwhelmed and exposed in the e-action learning sets. From a student perspective, the majority of the discussions were by Coventry students, with only 1 to 2 international students, and so it was difficult to explore new perspectives of the OT role and gain new insights from different countries and cultures in order to aid our development.
So what next for this oil project? The module evaluations are being collated and analysed at the moment, and we also used an intercultural sensitivity scale before and after the discussions, and the data is going to be analysed as part of that project. And we need to discuss and agree the next rollout for the module, in particular with students and graduates in collaboration. We want to expand the project to include other international partners, and so next year Singapore are joining in with us, and the following year we're hoping to work with South American institution, and after that 1 country per year across the world. So we need to agree with all involved how we working in partnership with students and graduates to help us understand what the issues are and to think creatively how we can encourage and support full engagement. So thanks for listening, and yeah, any questions, but probably not.
Do you fancy it? Tell you what, these slides are beautiful. This is huge thanks to our student media producers that are now working with us, and they're just doing brilliantly.
That's me now. Okay, so thanks for coming along. I like the keynote speaker who actually this is not on character. Thank you for coming along. I think with disruptive learning, we have to develop and practice what we teach. So it's okay to ask our students to step out of the comfort zone, but we have to actually do that ourselves as members of staff. So, now I'm supposed to be doing this live.
It's all right, it's all right, it's all right.
Right. So we don't want no sound. Is it ready to go? Okay, so I'm going to have to just step out there, just come back in character, and then I'll deliver it. So this is 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So I'll pick this up on the way back.
Still here.
It's not meant to be.
You need the video running.
10 seconds. How do you touch the remote control?
I didn't want sound. You didn't? No. That's why I muted it.
Is it ready to go?
Yeah, do you want it started?
No, I'll stop. About the medallion. So 1 click on here, yeah? Oh, this is still playing. This is. It should be at the beginning. Just can't get the stuff, can we? So 1 click of this and it starts, yeah?
Yes, just starts.
Do you want audio as well? Audio.
It's muted.
No, I don't want audio. I just want to click it to start it. No, this shouldn't be starting.
Because it's a video, it's just going to.
I thought I'd just click it. So click it now, yeah? Yeah. Okay, thanks. I'm Mike Smith, and thank you for coming along today. I'm here to introduce StarQuest, but before I do, I want to introduce the 242 crew. I want to introduce the StarQuest crew to you. Not all the crew is from around here. We got Cam Star, who's from afar. We got Benny Boy from Wigan Pier. We got Jason Tallis, he's the muscle man. We got Liverpool fan, who's Luke Sage, is a Liverpool fan. We got, I've lost it now. Let me start again. You'll have to just pause that. I've lost it, my cue. Right, so hang on, I'll start again. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the crew to you. Not all the crew are all from around here. We got Cam Starr, who's from afar, and Benny Boy from Wigan Pier. We got Jason Tallis, he's a Muscle man. We got Luke Sage, a Liverpool fan. And nearly 6 foot tall and loved by all is Miss Casey, who's something. That's the crew on 242. Now I'll tell you what we're going to do. And these slides are all out of sync. So here we've got, what we're going to talk about here is, we were talking about, this is Prensky talking about digital natives, and that, this is up. Can you just pause that? So a couple of slides that have gone were in 2010, Black talked about the Generation Y and students born between 1981 and 2001. They were born into a digital environment. They don't know anything else other than this digital world that they were in. In 2011, Prensky talked about education and said that education now and the way that it's delivered is not actually constructed in the way that to maximize the learning for these what he calls digital natives. So we thought, well, what can we do to try and meet the requirements of the Generation Y? So we were contacted by the DML and PlayGen, who are actually the sister or mother company of StarQuest. And can we start it now? And this is what we implemented into our module. Come on. StarQuest is a social learning platform which allows students to collaborate online asynchronously. They can work at home, load stuff into their individual groups from off the internet or photographs, over 200 different resources. The module that we integrated StarQuest into is a level 2 sport and exercise psychology module, which is part of the sports science program. The program is delivered by problem-based learning, where problems are set from the real world of sport. So sport is creating these problems all the time. And students have to gather information collectively as a group, and then they have to verbally present that to the tutor in the tutorials. Problems are set over a 2 to 3 week period. So to help with the actual problem to solution pathway for the students, we've developed solution sheets based on Edward de Bono's 6 thinking hats. And the students write these up individually based on the content of the group content. So here you can see this is group 11. They've uploaded a textbook that can access from Google Books. Some of them have loaded up journal articles. Again, we operate from an evidence-based practice, so they have to know the theories and the science behind the solution. Once they've gathered all the information, they can use as much or as little of the group information that they like to write up the individual solution. And that has to be 1 page at least on the solution sheets of the theoretical background, and the solution then has to be related to the theory. Anonymous feedback from the students was really good, easy way to share interaction and information, good to collect information. They liked the software. They were used to this type of approach. And we had over 50 responses out of about 100 on the module. However, when we looked at it from a more statistical point of view and we measured against module mark, some of the groups were competitive, were set up competitive, some were collaborative control. This was set up by StarQuest. We didn't know who they were. And the collaborative group performed the worst when measured against module mark. Some of the reasons, what we think the reasons behind this were that because it's a level 2 module, students had already set up Facebook and WhatsApp groups and their own social learning platforms, which they developed at level 1 because we have a similar process of the solution sheets, etc., at level 1. Also, all the students were sports science students. By their very nature, they are competitive. They want to beat each other. They play sport as well. And although all of them were sports science students, the collaborative group were probably guilty of social loafing a little bit, leaving information collection to other members of the group. What we'd like to do in the future is include the assessment within the online platform so that once students are immersed in that sort of platform, they don't have to then come back out, write something, type something up and then upload it into Moodle via Turnitin, which is what the process is at this moment in time. Also, as I indicated earlier, we want to actually catch students as they arrive at Coventry before they've set up these individual groups. Now, they may have already be accessing Twitter, etc., but they won't have set up the learning groups within the module. So we want them to try and use the StarQuest. We are aware students are coming in, they're strategic. They will step into a classroom and say, what's in it for me? StarQuest was formative, and we think if it was linked to some summative assessment, this would then increase the engagement and the interest in StarQuest and the platform. We also need support for people like me who are Generation A, as you see from, I'm way off Generation Y, as you can see from my rapping. And so as members of staff, it's important that we carry on collaborating with the DML and PlayGen and those type of organizations. And the last speaker was brilliant about the games. We must not forget, though, StarQuest might be current, but we need to move forward, and something like Oculus Rift, where we can immerse ourselves into the learning environment, for me is the next stage forward, where you actually step into the game and you become part of the learning environment. Thank you for listening. Sorry about the rap. It sort of went a bit pear-shaped. I blame the technology.
That was superb. You know, we've got a headless ghost one now. Alan Richards, who's going to present through the power of asynchronous digital tech.
We just running it. Just run it straight away, or? Are we just playing this straight away?
Good afternoon, everyone. This embodied voice is on mission. Myself and Martin Jenkins, Wade Martin, have just begun a new project entitled Continuum, Learning Without Silos. And this ignites us on the back to tell you what this means. Why do students pick one master's degree over another? Why do degrees with similar names entice completely different students? How can we entice the right student to the right course? My course. Students are attracted by courses they feel will not only be educational, but fun. Therefore, this project aims to provide a program of study that attracts the right students, those who enjoy learning. Students like to feel valued, don't we all? Once they feel valued, they tend to put much more passion into their studies and graduate with a greater amount of knowledge, to a higher standard, and with a better classification. Students who see you as their friend often work harder as they wish to impress. They often form tighter bonds within the university and achieve much more as a result.
Tell you what, if it's stuck, we'll just treat that as a teaser, and you can find the rest online. We'll send the URL out. Should do that.
No idea.
And then we'll end with the suicidal plans. It is 5 to 4, I don't know what it is.
Right. It's quite difficult to actually go off the mic. I have no costume to wear and no rap. But I think I I just want to put a bit of a downer on what we're talking about. It's like at the end of the day, there are not enough jobs there for all of our graduates. So we're talking about unemployment, and we're talking about, you know, the difficult situations that people will get into, you know, when there are no jobs around. And most of us would think about unemployment, and then we would talk about those without skills. But the skilled are not getting jobs as well. It's like I've been to many different countries in Europe, and they were talking about how we are skilled. I've got a master's degree, but I couldn't get a job, and the government is not helping me to get a job. And most of the time, people are expecting the government to help them to get jobs. But we are trying to sort of change the situation, and we are not trying to provide a solution. We are trying to change perspectives. We're trying to change how people look at their own situation and try to come up with their own options. So we can see that one can accomplish great things even when they are unemployed. So how can we turn the situation around and see how we can actually use whatever we've got to make something good out of a bad situation? So we're talking about the adventures of the unemployed man. So how can we empower? The word empower can be a bit patronizing sometimes, that, oh, I'm going to teach you this skill so that you will be able to help yourself. But actually, we would need the unemployed to actually decide on what they want to do, with us giving them some examples of, you know, best practices, or possibly all sorts of different things that they can actually do and get involved in. So this is where this project, you know, it is funded by Erasmus+, and it is called Playing for Real. It's not about technology, but we are actually trying to see how can we learn gamification, and we're not even use the word gamification in this project at all. How can you engage? How can you motivate? And how can you change perspectives? Self-reinforcement, self-belief, and self-confidence. So what we want to do is, how can we encourage the community to help each other, rather than them expecting the government to actually helping them in the times of need. When plan A is not working, plan B, plan C, D, E. And the thing is, when we had a discussion with some of the groups in Romania, the first thing they asked us was, what are you going to give us? Are you going to give us some money, vouchers, anything? They said, we're not going to give you any of this, but we are going to help you to try and see different ways of not getting a job, but to support yourself. And how can you do it in a community? So we're talking about entrepreneurship. We're not going to teach them. We're going to guide them in terms of going through different activities that will inspire them. We're talking about creativity. It's something which is a bit, you know, like soft skills you can't actually teach. How can you show them that there is no right or wrong answer to any problems that they are facing? It's like they would have to think for themselves. And we can't actually tell them what to do as well, because they say that you've got a job, I haven't got a job. Why are you trying to tell me how to do things? So it's quite a difficult project to do. So we're talking about community, and we're talking about jam. So it's a bit similar to what we are trying to do here at the university. It's about you designing your own solutions by being in a boot camp. But this is not like any other boot camps. It's about communities in different parts of Europe helping each other, working together, and try to see if the local businesses, the government, recruitment agencies, or any key actors in the community to come together and then work with these people, rather than teaching them or training them or upskilling them. But it's to say, listen, possibly there are some things that you can actually do in the community that will be beneficial for yourself, as well as for your self-confidence, and possibly opportunities for employment perhaps. So what we have at the moment is we are working with 2 different companies who are actually working on gamified products. So we actually learn from all sorts of different things that we have gone through for the past few months, working with social workers, working with trainers, we're working with the government, we're working with all sorts of different organizations, and there are 10 different organizations from 8 countries in Europe, which is quite interesting. And if you look at this, it's all about trying to engage them to get involved and trying to use something which is more controversial in trying to say that what is your problem, what are the things that you are trying to change in your life, and what you expect from life in general, and see how we can actually work with them by using gamified approach. It's not games, but it's how do you actually engage them personally, and how do you reinforce what they've learned from one stage to another. And one thing that we are working on is also the concept of crowdfunding and microcrediting, which are available in most of the countries in Europe, where you've got a good idea, work with the companies, or work with the commercial bodies around you. You can get funding from microcrediting, or you can get crowdfunding from families and friends. So these are what we are trying to encourage in Europe itself for the community, local community, to help their own unemployed, rather than us waiting for handouts. We look miserable, but we're actually happy inside. So these are the people who are working on the project, and some of them are actually working with the unemployed. And some of them said that it can get a bit violent sometimes, because when they are a bit angry about certain situation, and then in the previous program they did, because they were telling them what to do, like training them and everything, and they were like, what do you know about our situation? You come here in your nice posh car telling us that this is what we should do. So we want to change this now, saying that you tell us what to do. So at the moment, it's like we've worked with the groups in Romania and the groups in Spain, and it was quite encouraging to see that this is what we think we should do, rather than what can you give us at the end of the 2 project meetings that we had. And it was quite interesting. I was a bit scared. I was at the back of the group, because I'm not used to confrontation and everything, but it was fun towards the end. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right, we just want to finish off by showing you a 2-minute trailer produced by Darren Reed, who is a history lecturer, and we're supporting his project. Unfortunately, he can't join us today. He's got his own folder. This is the thing that keeps links to little clowns. No one should get out of that habit. The official name for the project is Looking for Charlie, subtitle Why Do Clowns Kill Themselves? And I'll just give you a little bit of background before we press the play button. Basically, this is for Darren's module, Making History, Public History in the Digital Age. Now, what's really interesting about Darren's work is he's working with his class to within this module each year, they're going to produce a film. And as well as having kind of the main piece, which will then try and hook to film festivals and stuff, the students will all be making kind of small films around it, challenging the main ideas in the central piece. But it's ultimately about not only how we retell or tell history, but also about developing kind of digital media production literacies. So really, you know, thinking about the kind of things that, you know, you mentioned before in your keynote with regards Henry Jenkins and this idea of meaningful participation through digital technologies, you know, this participatory culture that we're living in. So it's a really nice way to kind of reimagine that history curriculum, getting students to tell the stories themselves in really interesting ways. And so we just want to finish off by showing you the trailer for this film. Oh, and the good thing about this is there's going to be kind of sort of spreadable media campaigns around these films to try and get the films promoted, to try and get them shown at film festivals. And then once they are, all of the students get an IMDb credit to their name and on their CV, which isn't a bad thing. So let's just finish off by having a quick preview of Looking for Charlie.
Darkness settles on roofs and walls. the sea, and the darkness calls. The little waves with their soft white sounds face the footprints in the sands, and the tide rises, the tide falls.
Yeah, we really like that because there's obvious applications outside of that discipline. You know, think about mental health issues, healthcare professions. So it's another project that we're really excited by, but we are excited about all of them, I reckon. So thanks very much everyone for coming in. Thanks, Kate, for organising the food and everything. There's refreshments out there now. Alex for organising the live stream, and even though most of them aren't here, are brilliant media producer students who have helped getting these fantastic slideshows together. So thank you.
Thank you for organising.
Right.
Well done. I had a game changer. I like the logo.
Just got it. I did what you did last night. I just
Yeah,
said,
yeah,
I was like, oh, I'll use that from Sky Sports.
I like that. Psychedelic. That's what we should have. Everything is psychedelic.
We need to have something really strong. I mean, it can't look like a university thing. It needs to have its own.
There's probably to see and then cost out what we need. I think we need t-shirts is to get everyone.
Yes.
You know, something random.
Yeah.
As part of the marketing. Yeah. Some random students walking around wearing it. It's like, what's that? What are you talking about?
Definitely. And really treat it like a TV channel. We can have proper idents, proper logos.
We can make it funny. We can make it sort of thing. Yeah.